Picture this. You're standing in front of a mirror, but the reflection staring back at you isn't quite right. The eyes are yours, the face is familiar, yet there's something dark and menacing lurking just beneath the surface. This isn't a nightmare. This is what Carl Jung called your encounter with the shadow, the hidden enemy that lives inside every single one of us. What if I told you that right now, as you're watching this video, there's a part of your personality that you've been desperately trying to hide, not just from others, but from yourself? A part so threatening to your self-image that your mind has banished it to the deepest corners of your unconscious, where it continues to influence every decision you make, every relationship you form, and every dream you have. Stay with me for the next 15 minutes because I'm going to reveal Jung's most revolutionary discovery about human psychology. A discovery so profound that it will change how you see yourself, your relationships, and the very nature of what it means to be human. By the end of this journey, you'll understand why Jung believed that meeting your shadow isn't just important. It's absolutely essential for becoming who you're truly meant to be. But first, let me take you back to Switzerland, 1913. Carl Gustav Jung, once Freud's most promising disciple, finds himself in the grip of what he would later call his confrontation with the unconscious. He's just broken away from his mentor, his career is in jeopardy, and he's experiencing visions so vivid and terrifying that he questions his own sanity. Jung begins keeping a red leather journal, documenting his descent into what feels like madness. Night after night, he encounters strange figures in his dreams and active imagination sessions. There's an old wise man named Philemon, a mysterious woman he calls Salome, and most disturbing of all, dark, shadowy figures that seem to embody everything he despises about himself and humanity. These weren't just random nightmares. Jung was experiencing what he would later recognize as a systematic encounter with the deepest layers of the human psyche. And in those dark, turbulent years, he made a discovery that would revolutionize our understanding of the mind. We all carry within us a shadow, a hidden aspect of our personality that contains everything we refuse to acknowledge about ourselves. Think about your own life for a moment. Is there someone who just irritates you beyond reason? Maybe it's a co-worker who's always seeking attention, or a friend who seems fake and manipulative. Jung would tell you that your intense reaction isn't really about them. It's about recognizing something in them that exists within you, something you've pushed so far into your unconscious that you can't even see it anymore. This is how the shadow works. It's like having a psychological blind spot. Everything you consider unacceptable about yourself, your capacity for selfishness, your hidden resentments, your secret desires, your potential for cruelty, gets stuffed into this unconscious repository. But here's the crucial part. Just because you can't see your shadow doesn't mean it's not active in your life. Jung discovered that the shadow operates like a puppet master, pulling strings from behind the scenes. It influences your reactions, sabotages your relationships, and creates patterns in your life that you can't understand. Have you ever wondered why you keep attracting the same type of problematic relationships, or why you react so strongly to certain types of people? The shadow holds the key to these mysteries. Let me share a story that perfectly illustrates this principle. Jung once worked with a patient, a successful businessman who prided himself on being ethical and honest. This man came to therapy because he was having recurring nightmares about being a thief, breaking into houses and stealing from innocent families. He was horrified by these dreams and couldn't understand where they came from. Through their work together, Jung helped this man recognize that while he wasn't literally a thief, he had built his business success through subtle forms of exploitation, paying employees barely livable wages while living luxuriously himself, using loopholes to avoid paying fair taxes and manipulating contracts to his advantage. His shadow, the part of him that was capable of stealing, was trying to get his attention through these dreams. The businessman had never consciously acknowledged this aspect of himself because it contradicted his self-image as an ethical person. But his unconscious knew the truth, and it was demanding recognition through these disturbing dreams. This brings us to one of Jung's most important insights. The shadow isn't evil, it's unconscious. The real danger comes not from having a shadow, which is universal and inevitable, but from refusing to acknowledge it exists. When we deny our shadow, it gains power over us. It operates in the darkness, influencing our behavior in ways we can't control or understand. Jung observed this pattern not just in individuals, but in entire societies. Think about historical atrocities. How do ordinary people become capable of extraordinary evil? Jung would argue that it happens when collective shadows are projected onto other groups. When a society refuses to acknowledge its own capacity for darkness, it becomes obsessed with finding and destroying that darkness in others. We see this playing out in our modern world constantly. Political polarization, social media outrage, cancel culture. So much of our collective anger is shadow projection. We're fighting wars against external enemies that are really internal battles we're afraid to face. But here's where Jung's approach becomes truly revolutionary. Unlike other psychological theories that focus on eliminating negative aspects of personality, Jung believed the goal wasn't to destroy the shadow, but to integrate it. He called this process individuation, the journey toward becoming a whole, authentic human being. Integration doesn't mean acting out your shadow impulses. It means acknowledging them consciously so they can't control you unconsciously. It means recognizing that you're capable of the same darkness you see in others, which paradoxically makes you more compassionate, not more cruel. Jung often used the metaphor of a coin to explain this concept. You can't have a coin with only one side. The light and dark aspects of personality are inseparable. When you try to be only good, only light, you become artificial and one-dimensional. True wholeness requires embracing both sides of your nature. Think about the people you most admire. Chances are they're not people who seem perfect, but people who seem real. Individuals who acknowledge their flaws and struggles while still striving to do good in the world. They've done the hard work of shadow integration. This process isn't comfortable. Jung described it as a moral problem of the highest order because it requires absolute honesty about who you really are. It means admitting that you're capable of jealousy, selfishness, cruelty, and deception. It means recognizing that the very qualities you judge harshest in others exist somewhere within you. But this recognition is also liberating. When you stop expending enormous amounts of psychological energy maintaining a perfect self-image, you become more spontaneous, more creative, more genuinely loving. You stop being afraid of your own thoughts and feelings because you've learned to observe them without being controlled by them. Jung developed several practical approaches for shadow work. One of the most powerful is active imagination, where you consciously engage with the figures and symbols that emerge from your unconscious. He would encourage patients to have imaginary conversations with the characters from their dreams, especially the dark or frightening ones. Another approach is through careful attention to your emotional reactions. When you find yourself having an unusually strong response to someone or something, ask yourself, what is this showing me about myself? What quality am I seeing in this person that I refuse to see in myself? Dreams, Jung believed, are the royal road to shadow integration. Your unconscious is constantly trying to show you the parts of yourself you've rejected. That's why dream analysis was so central to his therapeutic approach. The figures in your dreams, especially the ones that disturb or frighten you, are often representations of your shadow asking for recognition and integration. Jung also emphasized the importance of what he called holding the tension of opposites. Instead of immediately choosing sides when you experience internal conflict, he suggested sitting with the discomfort and seeing what emerges. Often, A third way forward reveals itself, a solution that incorporates both sides of the dilemma. This brings me to one of Jung's most profound observations. The shadow often contains not just our rejected negative qualities, but also our unrealized positive potential. Sometimes we suppress aspects of ourselves not because they're bad, but because they're too threatening to our comfortable, familiar identity. Maybe you've always seen yourself as practical and rational, so you've suppressed your artistic or intuitive side. Maybe you pride yourself on being independent, so you've rejected your capacity for vulnerability and connection. These rejected positive qualities become part of your shadow too, and integrating them can be just as challenging as facing your darker impulses. Jung called this the golden shadow, the unrealized greatness within us that we're afraid to claim. Often, we see this golden shadow projected onto others. We become fascinated by people who embody qualities we wish we had, never recognizing that our attraction to these qualities suggests they exist within us too. The process of individuation, Jung discovered, happens in stages throughout life. Young people often need to develop a strong ego and establish their place in the world. Shadow work typically becomes more pressing in midlife, when external achievements start feeling hollow and people begin questioning who they really are beneath all their roles and accomplishments. This is why Jung observed that many of his patients over 40 came to him not because of traditional symptoms, but because of a sense of meaninglessness. They had achieved everything they thought they wanted, but still felt incomplete. They were being called to the second half of life's journey, the inward journey of self-discovery and integration. But shadow work isn't just an individual process. Jung believed it was essential for the evolution of human consciousness itself. As more individuals do the difficult work of integrating their shadows, our collective capacity for wisdom, compassion, and creativity expands. This is particularly relevant in our current historical moment. We're facing challenges that require unprecedented levels of cooperation and consciousness. Climate change, global inequality, the risk of technological disruption. These challenges can't be solved by projecting our shadows onto others and fighting external enemies. They require us to look within, to integrate our own capacity for both destruction and creation, and to find new ways of being human that honor both our darkness and our light. Here's the profound teaching I promised you at the beginning. Your shadow isn't your enemy, it's your potential ally. Every quality you've rejected about yourself, every impulse you've suppressed, every aspect of your personality you've pushed into the darkness contains valuable energy and information. The goal isn't to eliminate these aspects, but to bring them into conscious relationship with your ego so they can serve your growth rather than sabotage it. Jung discovered that when we integrate our shadow, something remarkable happens. We become more whole, more authentic, more genuinely powerful. We stop being afraid of our own thoughts and feelings. We develop what he called psychological immune system, the ability to encounter darkness, both within ourselves and in the world, without being overwhelmed or corrupted by it. Most importantly, we develop genuine compassion. Not the artificial niceness that comes from denying our own darkness, but the deep empathy that emerges when we recognize our shared humanity, our shared capacity for both shadow and light. This is why Jung called shadow integration a moral imperative. In a world increasingly divided by us versus them thinking, the individuals who have done their shadow work become bridges. They can hold space for complexity, paradox, and nuance. They can see the humanity in their enemies and the potential for growth in their mistakes. So I want to leave you with a challenge and an invitation. Over the next week, pay attention to your strong emotional reactions to other people. When someone irritates you, when someone attracts you, when someone triggers you, ask yourself, what is this person showing me about myself? What quality do I see in them that I've either rejected or failed to develop in myself? Start a shadow journal. Write down these observations without judgment. Notice patterns. Begin the conversation with the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. And remember, this work isn't meant to be done in isolation. Jung emphasized the importance of relationship in psychological development. Consider sharing your discoveries with a trusted friend, therapist, or spiritual guide. The shadow thrives in secrecy and isolation. Bringing it into the light of conscious relationship robs it of its destructive power. If this exploration into Jung's understanding of the shadow has resonated with you, I want to invite you to join me on a deeper journey. Subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell, because we're just beginning our exploration of Jung's revolutionary insights into the human psyche. Next week, we'll dive into Jung's concept of the anima and animus, the hidden feminine and masculine aspects within each of us that shape our relationships and creative expression in ways we rarely recognize. You'll discover why Jung believed that integrating these inner opposites is essential for psychological maturity and authentic love. Leave a comment below, sharing one insight about your own shadow that emerged while watching this video. What quality have you been rejecting in yourself that might actually contain hidden potential for growth? Your courage to share might inspire others to begin their own shadow work. And if you know someone who's ready for this kind of deep psychological exploration, share this video with them. Jung's insights are too valuable to keep to ourselves. They're meant to be part of a larger conversation about what it means to become fully human in an increasingly complex world. Remember, the journey of individuation isn't comfortable, but it's the only path to authentic wholeness. Your shadow is waiting to be acknowledged, integrated, and transformed from enemy to ally. The question is, are you ready to meet it? Thank you for joining me on this exploration into the depths of the human psyche. Until next time, keep questioning, keep growing, and keep doing the brave work of becoming who you truly are.